I asked my friend the other day to help me with a little market research. You see, she is the exact person that I want to help, that I want to serve. And she has never asked for my help, which I have no ill feelings for. We all have our reasons, we all have our priorities. But since she is the perfect person, I thought she would be the one to be able to help me with a little market research. And here's what I mean by she's the perfect person. She's a person that has articulated the importance of the work I do. She talks about how she thinks it's important to be gender inclusive as a business. And she's also a person I've heard say, I'm not really sure the right words to use or to express what I'm trying to say in regards to gender. So you might have heard me talk about this before, that that's exactly who I want to serve. People who have the desire to be gender inclusive, but don't feel really confident, don't have the language around how to be gender inclusive. So my question for her would, and we know each other well enough that she knows I don't have any poor feelings on it, but I really wanted to know what stopped her from signing up, what stopped her from getting help. And she thought about it for a little while and she came back to me and she said, I thought about it. I have thought about working with you because I do desire to be more gender inclusive, but it comes down to this. As a very extremely busy person, I have compete like it's not a bleeding neck issue. Those were her words. It's not a bleeding neck issue, meaning it's not an urge. Like your neck is bleeding, you got to pay attention to that. You got to put some pressure on it. That's where your attention needs to be. And so what she's saying is this is not a bleeding neck issue. And I get it. Like we all have different priorities, different things mean different things to us. For me, it's a bleeding neck issue because I think the world would be a better place if we could learn and understand gender. I think it helps us learn and understand ourselves better and accept ourselves better. I think it helps us learn and accept other people and differences better. It just in general, it just makes a better world for everyone. That's my personal opinion. And because I see that as making the world a better place, I'm desperate for it to be better, to be changed. But that aside, I get that that's not everyone's feelings, that's not everyone's priorities. And so I really thought about this for a while, and I'm so grateful for her honesty and the relationship we have that she can share that with me. And a part of me at first kind of understood it. Like, okay, I hear you. I hear that you have so many things going on that it may be something you want, but you don't feel like it's something you need. It's not a bleeding neck issue. It's not something that needs to be addressed right now. So I thought about this and I thought about a few reasons why I thought you don't want to wait till it's a bleeding neck issue. The first reason is because it doesn't feel good to go against your values. If your value is to be gender inclusive, but you tell yourself, I don't have enough time to learn about this, which remember, in my program, it takes less than an hour a week for 3 months. So that's 12 weeks. That's 12 hours over 12 weeks that you could feel more confident, be able to navigate the nuances, know the language to use, know how to handle mistakes, all those things. But that aside, if it is your value to be gender inclusive and you don't take the time to learn, to understand, to be more gender inclusive, it often leaves people not feeling great. And typically it comes out when they may need to use language, whether that's marketing or talking about what they do or serving people. It doesn't feel good to know that I want to be gender inclusive and I don't know the right words to say, and I am not taking action that align with my values. It takes energy. It makes people doubt themselves of what they're saying, what they're doing. It makes people back away because instead of saying the wrong thing, they're just going to withdraw. They're not going to show up. They're not going to be themselves. So for and no other reason is if it's your value, you're going to feel much better about the work you do if you do the thing that aligns with your values. And so maybe it is a little bit more of a priority than you think if you recognize that this is what happens when you think about posting something on social media or putting out an ad or writing copy for your website, whatever it is, and you kind of hesitate. It's like, is this the right, is this going to offend somebody? Is this going to upset somebody? Are people going to be able to see themselves? The people I'm talking to, are they going to be able to see themselves? Can I serve everyone I want to serve? Is this the right way? but it's easy to go, I don't have time for that. We'll just have to hope it works. But there's something inside you when you don't align with your values. It's unsettled. It causes you to second guess. It causes you to question. It's very unsettling. So, if for no other reason to calm that down, to live in alignment with your values is always a possibility, not to wait till you've got a bleeding neck. The other thing is that I think is important of doing the work is to be intentional. And this kind of goes along with the values too, like being more intentional in your work. Like, this is who I am, this is what I want to be. I'm going to know how to talk in a gender inclusive way, or do my best at it, know how to handle it in the nuances, versus I don't have time for this. I'm just going to throw things out there. And if there's a problem, I'll deal with it when it comes. It's like being like whack-a-mole. So instead of being intentional, it's like being reactive rather than being proactive. Learning you can be proactive. We know that in medicine, in life, being proactive saves a lot of energy versus being reactive. Takes a lot more energy to be reactive, because now you may be dealing with somebody else's feelings. You're definitely dealing with your own feelings. Again, if it goes against your values, then to know that somebody was upset because of something you did that goes against your values, it doesn't feel great. So that's another reason. The third reason that I think you don't want to wait till it's a bleeding neck issue is, I have heard many people that have loved ones, family members who are transgender, non-binary, and there is a very frequent, not always, there's never an always, but a very frequent sentiment that they wish they had done better sooner, that they wish they had the language to be more inclusive, that they felt it would have been more open and welcoming and allowed more space for that loved one to be themselves and to be able to express themselves without fear. So, instead of using very gendered language to somebody, knowing how to use gender inclusive language so that they didn't feel that expectation of who everyone expected them to be, if that makes sense. So that's really hard, especially I find for parents and guardians, but many family members that think, I wish I'd taken the time to learn. I wish I'd taken the time to be able to speak differently. And they think of all the times they used very gender focused language. So that's another reason. And this will lead into my last point, which is, at that point, it feels like a bleeding neck. Well, I don't know if it so much feels like like it's past, it's done, and it's like they didn't even get a chance to notice it was a bleeding neck issue, because the past is already past and they can't change it. But this leads into the other thing, is that many times when people do come to me for help, whether they're communities, businesses, healthcare providers, families, and they often do come when it's a bleeding neck issue, quote unquote. And that's because something has already happened. So whether that is a patient has come in who's transgender, non-binary, and you realize, I don't know, what to say. I don't know what I need to consider. I don't know these things. Whether you have someone come into your business who's transgender and non-binary, and you haven't thought about the policies you have or the language that you use, all of those things, then that's when people come to me and they're like, help me now. But the thing is, the person's already gone. They may be coming back. They may be a patient that's going to return, but the first impression is always there. And at the mildest, what might happen, the mildest issue, not having done the work ahead of time, is that many people find that they withdrew, that they didn't show up. They'll say, I wasn't my usual self. I could feel I wasn't treating them the way I normally treat a patient, a client. I could feel myself being quieter. I feel myself not speaking up. I probably came off as disinterested or bored or something along those lines, because they are so afraid. They recognized, oh my goodness, I wish I had learned this sooner. I don't know what to say. And at the worst case scenario in these is that people misrepresent themselves. It may be in the way they speak. They say something unintentionally offensive, and then a complaint is made, then maybe publicity is brought in, then like that would be to me the worst case scenario of not doing the work ahead of time. And the thing is, like, I can help you learn what happened. I can help you learn to not repeat the mistake in the future, but I can't change what's already happened. So I bring this all up. I bring this all up to say, as you think about things, that only you can prioritize your life and what's important. But if you wait till what you think is a bleeding neck issue, the damage may be done. It might be mild damage, it may be big damage. I don't know. But you'll at least have experienced that feeling of it does not feel good. And for some people, not all, the regret of I had an answer, there's something I could have done about it, and I didn't take the time to do it. And I'm not saying this to scare you. There are some people that won't feel that way, and that's fine too. But I want you to really think about this. What what are your values? What would make it important to you? And I just want to offer, like, what do you define as, like, does it need to be a bleeding neck issue? And how do you define bleeding neck issue? Because I might say in some ways, if you are a person that is important to you and you haven't taken the time to learn, your neck may already be bleeding. You may not realize the people that you are not serving because of it. You may not realize the people that may have felt hurt and that didn't share it with you, but left thinking, I'm not coming back. I could tell you I've done that to people when I don't like the language they use. Sometimes I'll bring it up and say, hey, why'd you say that? And other times they'll just be like, I'm out, I'm not coming back. And it may not be the people lost or anything like that. It may be the energy drain for you of constantly wondering, am I saying this the right way? Am I offending anyone? When it's your value. Because that's why you begin to question that, when it's your values. And so you're losing energy. You are bleeding a little bit. So I want you to think about that. And I want you to know that it doesn't take a lot of time to learn. I am one resource. There are a lot of resources out here. But what I try to do with the School for Engendering Inclusivity is to give you my hours of work and condense it for you so that you have the space to learn in a short amount of time, that you have the space to ask questions. Maybe if you're like me, sometimes like I don't have time to read about it. Can I just ask you the question? You give me the answer. Absolutely. That's why office hours are part of the school, so that you always have a chance to ask your questions and have them answered. So I'll just leave you with this. What are you willing to lose? What are you willing to gain? Meaning, yes, if you wait until it's an urgent issue, you can gain time, but you can lose energy, you can lose serving people. And if you spend the time to do it now, you may lose a little bit of time, but you're going to gain energy, you're going to gain feeling good about yourself and living in alignment with your values, serving in a way that feels right to you. So you get to decide what those values are, what's important to you, what you're willing to gain, what you're willing to lose. Continue to engender love. Have a great week.